are still in the Chilean Fjords in Chiloe, and we're going out to explore the national park today. Tomorrow we'll have a day in town to check out the stilt houses and all, so stay tuned to see what we find.
We have successfully navigated about 450 nautical miles, moving from the angry Pacific through the fjords, and this morning are anchored just off the town of Castro on the island of Chiloe, where we'll be spending 2 full days. This morning is more like a traditional cruise in port day as we gather in the Discovery Center, because we have an excursion planned across the island to the Chiloe National Park, about a 90-minute ride depending on traffic, construction, protests. What is welcome and encouraging, though, is this morning we have a glass flat surface on the harbor and mostly clear skies above. And we have GQ's Zodiac Driver of the Year, Yuri, piloting us to shore.
Very handsome fellow.
The island of Chiloe is home to some 180,000 people, and Castro is home to about 40,000 of those residents. So a little bit of side pangs at the thought that we are nearing civilization and moving far north of the Patagonian wilderness. Sigh. There are 3 tour buses for guests of the Pursuit heading to the national park today, and in Seabourn style, we have about 24 people per bus on buses that can easily hold 90 people or more. We first wind up from the harbor, passing the Castro Wooden Cathedral. We'll see you tomorrow. And past the large main high school on our way to the main highway. Chiloe is actually one grand island surrounded by dozens of smaller islands, so school-age kids from outer islands actually board at the school during the week before taking a ferry back home every weekend. One of the first things we learn, other than potatoes are really important in Chiloe, is about the concept of la Minga to the culture of Chilotes. Minga is the understood social contract that the community gathers to undertake tasks to help a neighbor, and when you need help, your neighbors will gather to help you. It is practice in Chiloe that when you need to plant your field of potatoes, and as we drive through the countryside, almost everyone has a plot of land growing food, you'll call on your neighbors and friends to come help plant the field. In this way, work that would take a single family multiple days or weeks to perform can be done in a day. The obligation for the person being helped? Cook a feast for all the community members who have helped plant your field. This reminded me of the practice in the Greek islands around harvesting olives, where neighbors come together to collectively help each other bring in the year's bounty. But here, La Minga goes even further. If someone needs to move their house, yep, a house, the community gathers, rolling the house on a series of logs and pulled by horses or cattle, and maybe now by ATV or 4-wheel drive, and relocate the house. Sometimes that house is on another island, so the community will float the house between islands. Maybe you get an extra special feast for that one. Need a church to move closer to the worshipers? Minga, come together and move the building. Houses here are actually constructed with the thought we may need to float this thing at some point, and as a poignant reminder that Chilotes have boat building and woodworking in their collective DNA. At the national park, we make a quick pit stop at the restrooms before beginning a 2-hour walk through the boardwalks and trails, and under the orange cinnamon-like ariane trees, we find the giant rhubarb plants known as nalca. So not only are we surrounded by the Chiloe forest, but we are also walking through a Mapuche supermarket of sorts. Our guide shares the wisdom, you may be poor in Chiloe, but you should never be hungry unless you're just lazy here. Clams, berries, rhubarb, things you can just pick up. The massive leaves of the nalca plant can be seen everywhere on the island and as a snack just waiting for the picking. We are told that the nalca is best when the stems are young and fresh, and to eat you throw away the spiky leaves and peel back the stalk to reveal the fresh white flesh of the nalca. Some locals carry salt with them to have a quick fresh snack on the go, but the nalca can also be sweetened with sugar and made into a jam.
To try the taste, the flavor of murta.
Murta berries are in abundance. This is a Chiloe superfood that in the park can only be harvested en masse by the native peoples to Chiloe. so we need to be satisfied with grabbing a few here and there as we pass by the bushes. The berries are also known as Chilean guava, and they are tasty. They are also used to create jams and jellies and mixed with other local berries to make great juice. Along the trails, we also find the maqui, which are dark purple berries, which are used to treat stomach issues and are also known to have anti-inflammatory properties. If we were to explore the dark brown beaches of the Pacific just a few hundred yards as the caracal flies, our guide tells us that they often walk into the waterline and kick up clams. The local kelp is also harvested to thicken soups. It's hard to imagine that the first Europeans that came to the Americas nearly starved to death or fell ill to scurvy. About 20 minutes out from the park entrance is the observation tower. From here we can see the lake to the east, the Pacific Ocean to our west, and the dense canopy of the forest that composes this, one of Chile's smallest national parks.
Nice when they have dew on them too.
Yeah, the trail of the Darwin frog.
I want to show you that this is one of the areas that was totally destroyed with the earthquake and tsunami. All of the trees that we can see around here have been growing like 65 years because after everything gets covered with salty water but also sand and all of the roots, the forest start to grow again. Then eventually we will make this loop on the middle of the forest. This is an older forest because it's in a small hill that was not affected by the tsunami. Now I want to show you.
On May 22, 1960, at 3:11 p.m., a 9.5 magnitude earthquake struck near the city of Valdivia, about 186 miles to the north of Chiloe Island, and resulted in a tsunami with 75-foot waves inundating the west coast of the island and pushing a half a kilometer inland. At least 200 people on Chiloe perished. Harbors and all boats within were destroyed, and permanent scars on the island include the joining of a separate freshwater and saltwater lake, and we passed that on our drive westward this morning. The 1960 quake created a Pacific Rim-wide tsunami as well, with significant damage. Landslides from the earthquake killed 18 people in Valparaiso, which is 680 nautical miles north, and along the Chilean mainland, 130,000 homes were destroyed. And in Hilo, Hawaii, waves traveled for 15 hours to inundate the harbor, killing 61. Chiloe National Park is a good representation of the trees native to this island. But as we learn, preservation of trees on an island of loggers and woodworkers is not without conflict.
The economy of this area during 200, maybe 300 years. One of the bigger problems with the park and the local communities was that the park tell them that they cannot park. We will continue cutting cypress, but also all of the trees, because this is one of the most important economical activities.
And we have seen the Aryan trees that make an orange-tinged lattice of light in the morning sunshine. But there are also alerce trees, and these are very slow-growing conifers that can live to 3,000 years old. The trees that old are extraordinarily rare, as the wood was prized for building, and in fact, many of the wooden churches of Chiloe utilize wood from the alerce. The largest trees in the park are the cogui trees. These are one of the largest of the beech trees, and there's still quite a few of the big trees just to the north of the area wiped out by the 1960 tsunami. The cogui steal the light and provide for the wet, shaded gnarls of the tupul bushes that have thickened into intertwining hardwood ground covering lining the boardwalk and providing additional ecosystems for growing mosses, mushrooms, and also providing shelter for the Darwin foxes that inhabit this park. We'll also find two types of native bamboo.
Yeah.
Well, we have two varieties. One is Chiloe. Chiloe is just one bamboo. All of what we have here is Quila, because have different branches. That's why we realize that all of this is Quila.
But there's one tree in Chiloe that's more important to the natives than all the others.
Canelo. This is the sacred tree of Mapuche people, of the natives. This is a drugstore. It's full of medicine. The bark, the leaf, absolutely everything. The natives use it as a medicine. But also, it's a sacred tree, so they use it on every ceremony.
As we move back toward the park entrance, there's a small open-air museum showcasing the tools and machinery utilized by the Chilotes. And of course, it's crafted out of wood, including a wooden apple press.
The people, the culture that depend on the wood, but also maybe one of the culture with more knowledge about the wood. So all of the, it's like a brown rope. So this is the seaweed. So this is Morelia's father. This is the father of the owner of the restaurant where we will go now.
After about 2 hours of exploring, it was time for a snack at Morelia's. Morelia started selling her homemade clam empanadas from a cart just outside the national park nearly 20 years ago. She saved and bought a small house a few blocks away in 2010 and sold her empanadas and Chilote specialties from the kitchen window. Over the years, she added some outdoor tables and then a small dining room, and now serves her traditional meals in the expanded small restaurant we are visiting today. Sorry, empanadas disappeared very quickly, but they were amazing, and the homemade salsa was so popular guests were lining up to take some back to the ship. After scarfing down the snacks and, of course, the pisco sours, none shall be wasted, we took a tour of Morelia's garden and got a good look at potatoes and a hothouse growing tomatoes and peppers. Morelia's flower garden was a sanctuary for hummingbirds, butterflies, and bumblebees. Tradiciones Morelia is part of CPAM, which are businesses that are recognized by the Chilean government as globally important agricultural heritage systems. Morelia herself was recognized in 2019 as an outstanding indigenous woman by the municipality of Chonchi. Cool place, great people. As we drive back toward Castro, we get glimpses of the mussel farms and salmon pens and the waters surrounding Chiloe. And as we enter Castro, we pass by a row of palafitos, which are the stilt houses that line the shoreline of the city. We'll show those more in episode 10. The main terminal in Castro is truly multi-purpose. There's storage for huge bags of salmon chow, tender port for cruise ships, and a bit of a bird sanctuary. Here we see nesting cormorants, gulls of course, and mini condors. Well, it's more interesting than saying black vultures. So tonight at Happy Hour, we have something truly unique for this itinerary: the sun, and a sunset sinking below the hills of Chiloe and the city of Castro. Another treat in store this evening. Ezra, who's taken great care of Donna Doobie in the restaurant this trip, had told her not to order anything as he was having a surprise special meal created for her. And wow, a fried calamari appetizer started the night, and for dinner, broiled lobster and a huge bone-in ribeye steak done to perfection. Thank you, Ezra. It was a Sunday night feast, and the sight of that steak created a lot of jealousy from our fellow travelers. Hey, it pays to make the right friends on board. Now, tomorrow promises to be a day of magic and myths, so we'll see you in episode 10 as our time on Chiloe comes to an end. Good night.